Are you one of those people for whom there is never enough time in the day? Never enough hours. You always got too much stuff to do. Always working too much. Well, one of the reasons why this happens is because we're not in control and command of our own time. And one of the reasons we're not in control and command of our own time is because we don't manage the time well that we have. So a lot of times it's not that the people don't have the time, it's just they don't optimize the time that they do have. And that's why they don't have any time. I'll give you an example. Once I was doing some coaching for a company. When I go into companies and do ongoing coaching, sometimes it lasts a year or two, I also coach with some of the individual managers. And I had a coaching session once with a manager. She was a mid-level manager. And I remember at the beginning of the session, I asked her, I said, so, this is what we said we were going to do last week. How did it go? And when I asked her that question, she broke out into tears. And I was like, what happened? What happened? She was like, no, because I just have this problem that every day, most days when I get to the end of the day, I feel so frustrated because I didn't get anything done that I wanted to do because I'm so busy helping everybody else. And I was like, okay, well, at this point, she was actually sobbing. So I pulled out some tissues and I was like, don't worry about it. That's why we're here, we'll figure it out. So I asked her a lot of questions, which is what a good coach does. Instead of just start giving advice, you got to understand the situation first. So I asked her some questions to try to find out why she's in this situation, why she feels so frustrated. And it came out that not only does she help anyone who comes and knocks on her door, any of her colleagues who need her in that particular moment, she just jumps up, stops whatever she's doing, and she just helps them. And the other thing that we discovered is that she didn't have any goals for herself. She had things that she was supposed to do, but she didn't make those a priority for herself. And she wasn't very good at planning. So I knew that that was going to be one of the things that I was going to have to help her with. Anyway, we talked about it. I helped her to put together a plan to understand how to organize her days and organize her weeks. And, I could see that she was feeling a lot better. It was almost like it was scripted. And at that moment, when I had just finished, we had just finished this little session, and we actually had like 15 more minutes to go, there was a knock at the door. Her name was Florence. And Florence said, come in. And it was her secretary. And she said, Florence, Mrs. Rossi's on the phone, and she says it's urgent. So Florence just instinctively got up and took 2 steps towards the door. I was just watching her. I was sitting back there just watching her just like this, amazed at how she could even do that after just what we were just finished talking about. And it was almost like she got it. And she turned around and she looked at me. And I was just sitting there and I just looked at her. I said, if you walk out that door right now, then this session is finished. After all that we just said. And then she sat back down and she said, well, tell Mrs. Rossi I'll call her when I get out of a meeting. And so I was like, I couldn't believe she did that, Anyway, so in the afternoon, I ran into Florence again in the hallway. And I was like, so did you talk to Mrs. Rossi? And she said, yes. I said, was it urgent? And she said, no. And I was like, see? You see what I mean? Get your stuff done first. If you make everybody else's stuff always a priority, you're never going to be happy. You're always going to be frustrated at the end of the day, right? Get your stuff done. You have to learn how to say no. And I know what you might be thinking. If you work in a company, you have to be a team player. You can still be a team player. You don't have to say no definitively, but you have to get used to saying no, not right now. Because if I do this for you right now, I'm not going to get my stuff done. And my stuff is important. And if you're wondering how to do that, first of all, block your own time. And also, sometimes you have to anticipate. If you just think about, you have some really important stuff to get done. Who are the people who always interrupt you? Is it your boss? Is it a colleague? If you know that from 11 to 12 today, you're going to have to get this done, and this is really, really important because otherwise you're going to have to stay because your son has soccer and you promised to take him to practice, and if you don't get this done between 11 or 12, you're going to have to stay late and you're going to miss soccer practice. You're going to have to get this done. And so you might want to go to those people, whether it be your boss or whether it be a colleague. And you say, do you need me today for anything? And they might say, well, I'm not sure yet. And the reason I'm asking you is because from 11 to 12, I got to work on this project. I got to get it done. So if you need me, I'm there to help you. But please don't interrupt me between 11 and 12, okay? I'm pleading with you not to do that, all right? And then if they do interrupt you in that moment, you can always remind them of what you've said. You see what I'm saying? But if you don't do that before, then you might have a difficult time saying no now when they come and interrupt you. You see what I'm saying? So anticipate things. Think about it. Plan your day out. Block time. I strongly advise that you do not block 100% of the time that you have, because there are always things that come up that you don't expect. And so I always suggest, based on a piece of advice that I got some years ago, I never block more than 50 or 60% of my time, because things always come up. But block that time and try to stick to it. And if you have difficulty because other people keep interrupting you, go to them first, tell them what you have planned, tell them that you'll be there to help them, but don't interrupt me in that particular moment, because I'm busy and I'm not going to be there for anybody. Doors closed, don't come in. You know what I mean? So anyway, just a little tidbit. Like I always say, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to make you think. So if you want more little pieces of advice like this, subscribe to this channel, because I got a lot more where that came from.